Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. My name is Maurya Hanspal, and in this session, we're gonna continue our sessions on the discussion of talking about the market crash. So, in the previous session, I told you about that the Russia-Ukraine crisis is not the only reason why the market is kind of receiving a correction or a crash. The market started to correct even before the Russia-Ukraine crisis. Okay, so that was one thing. We talked about the contagion effect or the spillover effect, and also the kind of sanctions on SWIFT and the other commodities as imposed by the various countries. The second reason we talked about was of the excessive valuations, pent-up demand, revenge travel, and irrational exuberances. So all these things we tried to understand. The third reason that we'll try to understand is of the ABG shipyard. I don't know you have heard about this company or not. There's a company called ABG Shipyard. Okay, so here you have this company of ABG Shipyard. So this company is into the repairing, maintenance, and cleaning up of your ships and all. So this company has done a scam of more than 23,360 crores. Means around this amount has been taken from one of the largest banks of India. ICICI Bank being the topmost bank, around 7,000 crores has been taken from it, and various other banks, so Bank of Baroda, IDBI Bank, Punjab National Bank as usual. So all these companies have been made fraud, have been into the fraudulent transactions by the ABG shipyard. It took money and it has not uh, returned the money to these companies. So again, so like what basically happening? The banking sector companies are involved into this fray. Okay, and ABG Shipyard has done one of the largest scams, which was not even done by Nirav Modi and Vijay Mallya as well. The largest scam in the Indian history by ABG Shipyard. So when this company is not able to return the money which it took as a loan from these companies, so ICICI Bank, Bank of Baroda, IDBI Bank, Punjab National Bank, obviously the people would be affected or the banking system would be affected, and that is why we received a correction in the bank nifty as well, because now the banks won't have money to lend to people, though they have money to lend the people, but obviously the extent to which they could have lent is reduced now. And we all know that the banking sector had recently recovered from the COVID wave. They have started to reduce their debt. They have become almost net NPA free. Okay, their NPAs have been coming down. Their interest provision coverage has come up. Their interest margins are rising. Their revenues from both the interest bearing income and non-interest bearing income, they have their own excellent business models. But the losses that these banking companies faced because of the NPAs was something that has to be taken into consideration. So in this phase, when the banks have just come out of this thing, the companies are coming in and they are making banks come into this situation. So that is something which can also affect the stock market, and the bank nifty is being affected by it. And it not only means that if the loan had been taken or the money had been borrowed from ICICI Bank, Bank of Baroda, IDBI, and PMB, and not from Axis Bank or the HDFC Bank, Axis and HDFC Bank won't be affected. They would also be affected because ultimately it's a complete banking sector, and banking sector comprises more than 30% of the nifty, and that drives the nifty. Okay. The third reason is of the NSE scam, National Stock Exchange scam. We all are hearing the news of Chitra Ramakrishna and Anand Subramaniam, and that Himalayan Guru and all. Like Himalayan Guru, people say that he was the same person as Anand Subramaniam, and like he has been arrested, and CBI say that he's the same person as the Guru. Okay, so like what basically happened, he used to work for a very low salary and having no prior experience in the field of finance and stocks. Like this person was hired as a top position on the National Stock Exchange at par with Chitra Ramakrishna, and his salaries were being hiked, his perk was being hiked, and he used to come to offices like 4 to 5 days a week. That's it, max to max 4 days a week. He used to work from home for a large amount of days, and even like no one could question his position. And also, like when we talk about further about the NSE scam, a large number of the foreign institutional investors, they also withdrew their money from the stock market before this NSE scam news came into place. So people are also thinking maybe this foreign institutional investors, they got a hint or they had the prior news that this scam is going to come into place and they withdrew their money. The second thing was between the period from 2010 to 2015, a large number of people have made money because of some problems in the broker survey. So what basically happened, we call it as the co mechanism. But basically, what's happened, the broker server was attached far from the NSE server, and then they came close. But the broker server was also connected to the backend server, like the co-allocation mechanism, basically we call it. But due to this, the traders were getting information at least 30 seconds before of executing it. So if anyone can get the information of what would be the price of the shares after 30 seconds, trades ideally are executed in less than 2 seconds or even 1 second. But if someone is getting the prior information, what a particular stock price or a share price, prior 30 seconds, he can book his profits and he can like minimize his loss. So just imagine how many people from the time period from 2010 and 2015 they made money in the stock market because of these illegal means. So if these kinds of things is happening, or the National Stock Exchange, the biggest stock market index, the stock exchange is doing such things, that can further hamper and make the issues as well. And people will lose trust in the stock market. People will lose faith in the stock market because ultimately people are not investing. That can further impact the GDP of the country as well, of which investment is a major component. Okay, so if people are not investing into the country because of these NSE scams and all, their faith would be reduced. Okay, and it is very bad to have people being afraid of the stock market, because stock market or the indices are something that can drive the people's wealth in future. And if people are like reducing faith in it and people are not having faith on the stock market because of these scams, so that needs to be taken into consideration. Because NSE being the largest stock exchange, and it is, and even like the IPO, like the draft red herring prospectus which are filed in SEBI for being listed, because they currently only BSE is listed and NSE is not listed. Okay, so NSE, obviously the shares of these company would be fantastic, the National Stock Exchange and BSE, because ultimately everyone is trading on them, and that is a benchmark on Nifty. So these companies cannot come down when they come to the market on the bourses to get listed. So that can create problem because of these scams like which are happening. Okay, so that also needs to be taken into consideration. So one thing that needs to be taken is that Russia Ukraine is the not only reason for that. Okay, though it is one of the reason, but the market started to correct before this one of the reason, because of the valuations, excessive valuations, pent-up demand, revenge travel, irrational exuberances, EPG shipyard scam, more than 23,600 crores have been taken from the banking system, the NSE scam. So all these things are coming into place, and these are like few of the reasons why the market has corrected, and that